Hello everybody, my name is Paul Gampe and I'm the Chief Technology Officer for PCCW Global and Console Connect. And it's great to be here today. It is exactly 8 years ago yesterday that the acquisition of Console Connect by PCCW Global was announced at an Mplify event. It was my first introduction to Mplify and I've really come to understand the journey that we've been on together as a community. This is where we started and this is where we still are today in my mind. The reason I want to talk about monetization is because I think as an industry, particularly as a community in the room, we've invested heavily in building the infrastructure, the standards, the knowledge base, the collective understanding of what network as a service is. And I want to share today what we've learned about monetization. How do we actually make money out of network as a service? If there's one thing I can give you over the next 15 minutes is firstly, I've prayed to the demo gods. We're doing a demo today. And second, what I've learned about how to monetize network as a service as a company. It begins with this diagram. Many of us are operating networks that look and feel like this. They're brittle, they're rigid, they're very hard to sell, and they cost a lot of money to maintain. We're not adapting to the way the enterprises now consume technology. This is not a cloud offering. So how do we make that vision of a NaaS world a reality? What journey have we been on? And we've learned through working with Mplify and all of you contributing to the standards development over the last few years, that NaaS is actually 7 things. First, it's on demand. We have to deliver a cloud-like experience to engage directly with the enterprise, and what I've learned in the last few years, to engage with each other as a community providing end-to-end solutions. No single provider in the room is able to connect every location in the world, so we need to be able to interoperate. And that on-demand nature of us being able to provision services together with each other is how we fulfill the goal of the end enterprise. It needs to be observable. Enterprises are making purchasing decisions on whether you can integrate with their network management systems, particularly in an AI era. And it needs to be manageable. I want to be able to burst my bandwidth up and down. It's a simple thing that the enterprise need to do, and it's one of the core attributes of the definition of NaaS. And the other 4 attributes is where we begin to talk about monetization, so programmability. How can I combine security into the network so it's not an add-on, it's not a bolt-on, it's a built-in. It's part of the value proposition of my connectivity. It's flexible. It's bandwidth upgrades, bandwidth downgrades, and it's modular. Can I combine internet access with my port? Can I provide cloud connectivity with my connectivity to access ports as well? So these are the 7 attributes that the Mplify community have identified as the definition of NaaS. 3 that are the foundation and 4 that represent monetization. I'm going to talk about the 4 monetization components because I think they're really key. When you first read them, it sounds obvious. If you were to talk to any enterprise, these are the 4 things that they would ask for. What I'm going to do is take you on the journey about how we've come to understand that they're actually the path to monetization of NaaS. Firstly, terms. How many contracts have we lost because a customer wouldn't or couldn't sign a 36-month contract and actually just wanted 4 hours of 100 gig capacity to get to a data center? We're monetizing the fact that we're flexible on terms. I'm doing a backup this Saturday evening. If I can do that at 100 gig capacity instead of 10 gig capacity, I can have that backup done in 7 hours instead of 2 days. Monetize the burst. By offering the upgrade and downgrade flexibility, we've got the ability to capture that monetization opportunity. And our networks are able to do it if we adopt this NaaS concept. Ease of use. The friction of getting a sale closed when it's a phone call, an email, a misconfiguration that's been sent to an engineer provisioning these services legacy. All of that goes away if it's customer self-service. If they can configure the service themselves, they get exactly what they want. That ease of use increases the velocity. And finally, speed. If a customer can self-service, that quote to cash is in the click. There's no sales cycle here. There's no cost of sales. It's simply done by the end user provisioning the services in the platform. The pain points that we see here, first and foremost with AI, everybody's talked about AI. I'm actually, if the demo gods let me, going to show you some. We know the two use cases that our networks are going to endure over the coming years: inference and training. Both are completely different dynamic profiles for our network, and our networks need to be dynamic to accommodate those types of changes. If it's training, we need to be able to connect the edge enterprise, where all of the data is, to the massive GPU clusters and data centers. It needs to be very high bandwidth, and it needs to be very flexible so that we can get all of the data into the training LLMs. For inference, it's the other way around. We need to get the data back to the edge, where the latency between the application and the processing is going to be really critical. Two completely different paradigms that a NaaS solution allows us to accommodate and meet the objectives of the end enterprise. Security is paramount. I've sat in the back listening to all the presentations before me. Everybody's mentioned security. By giving our users the ability to log into a NaaS platform and actually see how their services are provisioned, we give them the confidence that they understand the path from source to destination. It's trivial, but it's one of the core things we hear our customers talk about all the time. And obviously, cloud connectivity. You can't manually provision AWS Direct Connect, Google Cloud Interconnect, Azure Express Route. You need software systems to do this. And that's where this combination of software and network occurs inside our platforms. It's part of the NaaS solution. And more of the AI workloads are going to continue to gravitate towards these data wells that exist inside the cloud providers. And this is where the Mplify vision meets reality. This is what the Console Connect platform is. It's how we've integrated our NaaS platform into PCCW Global's network. I can log in, I can see my port in Sydney, I can see my port in London, I can configure my connectivity to Google Cloud Interconnect, I can configure my AWS Direct Connect, my Azure Express Route, my OVH Cloud connection. I can pause those services, I can burst them up, I can burst them down. 8 years ago, when we were acquired, we began a journey together with Mplify to define this vision, and what I hope you all achieve today is an understanding of how we've learned to monetize that vision, to how to take the attributes of a NaaS platform and ensure that there's financial success in your business as well. The last thing I want for all of us here is for NaaS to be left in the wake of digital innovation as one of the most exciting cost centers on the planet. We need it to turn into a revenue center, and that's what we've learned over our years operating and building this platform, and most importantly, provisioning it and being part of this community. I think it's really clear how it plays a role in AI. We understand the requirements around security, the changing profile of the network, the changing structure of the network, how it's a different type of network we need to provide, whether it's AI for training or AI for inference. And by allowing the self-service capability, we allow the enterprise to configure the network to whatever requirement they might have. But what does it really look like? So 10 days ago, I asked one of our engineers saying, I'm going to be at the Mplify Global Network event, and I bet you a lot of people are going to be talking about AI. And what's the one thing I don't think I would see is a demo. So I said, let's do a demo. If we genuinely believe that the standards that we've been building, the APIs, that all of your development communities have been contributing to for decades now are in fact the right APIs, then it should be pretty simple. It should be pretty straightforward to stand up an agentic AI talking to an MCP server, provisioning a service on a network. So let's see if that's true. Console Connect plugin to Claude AI. List all the data centers in Singapore using the Console Connect API and show them as a list. Geographic address, API endpoint, LSO standard. Create a quote for a 1 gig access port in developer search and copy and paste, Equinix SG1. Create quote API, LSO API standard. MEF payloads. Place a product order using the PCCW Global demo buyer ID. MEF payload, create order, LSO API standard. Check the order status. Product order inquiry, log into console, in production, here's your port order. Thank you. All of you and all of your teams have been contributing to the development of these standards over many, many years. And all that I've shown you today is that work was the right thing to do, and that's got us to the place where we can actually demonstrate an AI agent talking to an MCP server, which has taken those messages from the agent, transposed them into an action. They've called the Mplify LSO API adapter, which is free, open source, and available for you to use, and converted that, translated that API call from an LSO standard into the Console Connect API, which had an endpoint to provision the port order. These 4 parts have been the journey that we've been on, the work that we've done to establish NaaS as a strategy for our ecosystem. We've now successfully demonstrated is the right one. I just want to ensure all of you understand a little bit of what you saw and how we as a company believe that a rising tide raises all boats. We want to give back to this community as much as we've gotten from it. And part of the way that we do that is by open sourcing our innovation. So last year we announced this, so I just want to reiterate. This is an open source software project under Apache license. You are free to use it. It allows you to map your APIs to an LSO API standard. And in fact, this project is the one that we used when we went for LSO API certification for the Console Connect platform, and we passed. All of the 4 API endpoints that you saw are fully certified. The first Mplify LSO API certified company, and it was done using this adapter, and it's free for you to use. We know that there's a barrier to entry for many of you. Not all of you have the luxury of development teams that understand this domain, so we're going to announce in first quarter of 2026 that we'll offer this to you also as a SaaS service. So if you're not familiar with operating this type of infrastructure, you can also get it from us, and we'll help you do that as a SaaS platform. Why do we do it? We do it because we believe that NaaS is the future of connectivity for the enterprise. Our customers and our partners are all experiencing that NaaS allows the enterprise to do point-to-point connectivity, data center to data center to cloud. The growing number of enterprises that we now work with that are completely digital native, have no connectivity to an office or a data center, it's completely cloud to cloud. To applications, whether they be Salesforce, ServiceNow, or others in the room, that connectivity is also critical and important in a NaaS environment because you need automated connectivity to get to it. Increasingly, we're seeing the convergence of mobile networks and fixed line networks. And with our Edge SIM product, we're providing private connectivity from an IoT device to a cloud environment, completely bypassing the public internet. As a lot of that we've talked about today, security is a key part of that. And we believe that the network continues to be an important perimeter to maintain that security posture. So if there are three things that I want you to remember today, besides the fact that the demo gods were kind to us today. The first one is that 70% of organizations will turn to automation to deliver flexibility and efficiency by 2025. Whether we're ready for or not, this is what the enterprise are doing. Automation systems, Terraform, Ansible, programming their applications, programming their networks. It's happening inside the data center, and they need it to happen outside the data center. 75% of businesses will leverage digital platforms and ecosystems by 2025, according to IDC. I'm sure you've all heard this statistic that the average number of enterprises use 52 SaaS applications. We have one extremely large customer in Asia, which has over 40 SaaS applications behind their primary web portal. All of them connected via a cloud router, all of them SaaS. And finally, employing an SDN solution can streamline networking activities and help IT teams navigate performance challenges very quickly, according to Frost & Sullivan. Our goal as a company is to help our community and our ecosystem achieve the same things that we've achieved with the console platform. And we're doing that through enabling this open source API adapter, by providing a hosted private label version of our platform. If you need support in doing that, we also provide technical support to help you get on the journey as we have done. And with that, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the demo. Thank you.